Okay everyone, welcome to another episode of Wineback Wednesday, and we started to smidge in 2002 with playing around with a bit of Langhorne Creek Zinfandel and a little bit of Merlot while I was working for other people. And so 2023, we are 21 years old, so I thought why not delve into the cellar and grab something that I hadn't looked at for a little while. And so I've grabbed the 2018 Houdini Grenache Carignan. 2018 was quite a warm to hot year, but we had some nice cool nights which moderated the season, and we ended up with some nice sort of fleshy, juicy wines, and really quite varietal and really juicy and lovely to drink. Grenache and Carignan are believed to have originated from a little region called Aragon in sort of the northeastern, sort of east to northeastern section of Spain, just up near the French border. And if you know your history, obviously Catherine of Aragon was Henry VIII's first wife, and so that's where she came from, and that's where these two varieties are believed to have originated from. Obviously now they've spread around the world. Grenache is very widely planted through Châteauneuf-du-Pape in the southern Rhone, and we also have quite a bit of it here in McLaren Vale. And Carignan, it was actually a very popular variety through France for a number of years, but it is quite typical. Normally it is a high yielding variety, and it was a little bit hard to manage, so the planted area of that variety in France has decreased over the last sort of 20-25 years. And I think in France Merlot is the most widely planted variety at the moment, but I may be wrong. So over here in McLaren Vale, so Grenache has become a lot more popular in the last sort of 10 to 15 years as a single variety. Over the decades it was sort of started out as a base for a lot of fortified wines, and then the evolution into sort of the Châteauneuf-du-Pape style of blends. I mean, obviously there are straight varietal Grenaches in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, but there are also there's a number of varieties that can be utilised in the blends, and we call them GSMs or GMSs or whatever. So the Grenache, Shiraz, Mourvedre or Mataro are probably the three most popular varieties that are used. And then obviously it's gone to the next step that in the last probably 10 to 12 years, I believe, I'd probably reckon that Grenache, or 10 to 15 years, the Grenache has probably become very popular down here as a single variety. A varietal wine, and we've got lots of old, very sought after vineyards up in Blewett Springs. Unfortunately, I think off the top of my head, Grenache is about 5% of the total red plantings of vineyards down here in McLaren Vale. So through the 80s, in both Barossa and McLaren Vale in particular, a lot of those vineyards were pulled out, and the growers who did stick to their guns and left the vineyards in are reaping the rewards now. So the Grenache component for this wine, there's two vineyards. There was a bit out of Seaview, which is sort of on the northeast sort of side of McLaren Vale, as you do head towards Blewett Springs, just before you head off towards Clarendon, back towards Adelaide. So that sort of higher elevation really suits the variety. You get the nice warmth, and then you get that nice coolness as well from the elevation, and especially nighttime is quite cool up there. So you get a lovely acid retention, but slow flavoured development and slow sugar development as well. And the Carignan is from the southern part. The second vineyard of Grenache was from here, just near the winery. Unfortunately, the vineyard has been pulled out. It was a 70-year-old block that had suffered quite a lot of neglect over the years, so unfortunately it was pretty inconsistent in yields, and so for the grower it was a bit uneconomical. So don't blame them, they had to pull it out, and one day we'll look at it again. So I haven't made any Grenache Carignan for a number of years. Probably 2019 was the last vintage, if I can, top of my head. And the Carignan component comes from a vineyard down in the southern part of the Vale, down towards Sellex Hill, actually on the hill. It's quite a shallow soil vineyard, and even though Carignan is typically a high yielding variety, because of the shallow soil and the rocky components in the soil, the vines struggle a little bit, so the yields are a bit lower, the berries are smaller, so quite concentrated and rich. So I did sneak a little bit before. You have to. I was a bit cheeky, and I had a little bit before just to have a taste. So we'll have another taste now. Lovely sort of colour, deep red with a bit of sort of brick red on the rim. It's sort of lifted. There's nice red fruits. There's some spice. There's some dried leaf sort of note. There's some meaty grilled meats and charcuterie sort of notes from the Carignan. Well, the Carignan, being a warm year and shallow soils, even though we had the cool nights up there, it was a little bit tough to manage. We had a little bit of inconsistency ripening through the vineyard. Some berries were a lot riper than the other ones, so we ended up picking it, and it was on probably the fuller style, which is, I don't mind, but it sort of complements the sort of juicy, fleshy spiciness of the Grenache, and overall really interesting blend. It's nice and tobacco sort of coming through as well. But on the palate, it's quite red fruits and spice. There is this sort of what I call this sort of honeycomb note, which I get through from Grenache. It's got good acidity, it's vibrant, it's fresh, it's long, there's some fine tannins coming through, and perfect. It's a little bit more medium body than I remember the wine. It's still medium to full, but that fine tannins and that fresh acidity and good length and vibrancy really makes it a great wine, both through winter but also through the warmer months. So it's obviously heading into spring now, so I can see myself drinking a bit more of this. I don't drink enough of it. We have a rather large portfolio, if you know our portfolio, so if I do select something out of the portfolio to drink, I have a big range to choose from, so I don't often get to try things like this on a regular basis. So yeah, lovely red fruit, spice, and fleshy, and really vibrant and fresh on the palate. So thanks for listening. That's the 2018 Houdini Grenache Carignan. Cheers.